When I found out I was pregnant, I thought it would be one of the happiest moments of our lives. My husband, Eric, and I had spent years trying to start a family. It was not an accident or a surprise. We had planned for this, hoped for it, and held on to every bit of faith we had through all the heartbreak. We dealt with unexplained infertility for what felt like forever. Still, through it all, Eric never agreed to get checked out himself. He kept saying he just believed it would happen naturally, that we would get pregnant when the time was right. But the truth was, he could not handle the idea that something might be wrong with him. Just the suggestion of doing a basic fertility test, like a semen analysis, made him shut down completely. It sent him into a dark place, full of self-blame and shame. And then, out of nowhere, it finally happened. I got pregnant. Naturally. No doctors. No treatments. Just the two of us. You would think that would have been the miracle we were waiting for, right? But instead of celebrating, something in Eric snapped. He completely broke down, emotionally and mentally. He started saying things that made no sense at all. One day he told me I should leave him. That I deserved to be with a man who truly wanted to be a father. That he was not that man. Then he said he wanted a divorce. Within days, he was already looking at apartments. He was packing his things like he could not wait to get out of our house. And the worst part? He just stopped talking to me. He would not look me in the eye. He would not answer my questions. It felt like I was suddenly married to a stranger. I was crushed. I could not make sense of what was happening. I was pregnant with our child, something we had both dreamed about, and he was running away from it. I know some people would probably look at this and say, he never wanted a baby. And honestly, I would understand why they would think that. From the outside, that is exactly how it looked. But I lived with this man. I saw how badly he wanted us to become parents back when it felt impossible. I remember how he clung to hope when everything else told us to give up. The truth is, the idea that the problem might have been with him, that is what broke him. He could not handle it. I still love him, but I know deep down that something is not right. Something in his mind is not working the way it should. The things he says, the way he acts, it is not just fear or stress. It is something deeper. Something that needs help. But he refuses to see it. But no matter what I say, Eric will not get help. He is as stubborn as they come. And the wildest part? He is a doctor. You would think he, of all people, would understand the importance of getting treatment when your mind starts slipping. But no. He just brushes it off. He has looked me straight in the eye and told me he knows something is wrong with him. But he says he does not care. He says he wants to vanish, just disappear entirely from this world. He truly believes that the people around him, myself included, would be better off without him. And the part that tears me up the most? I still want this baby more than anything. We are both in our 30s. We spent years hoping and praying and hurting, and now I am finally pregnant. But instead of feeling happy, I am lying awake at night terrified. I am scared that the weight of all this stress will take the baby away from me before I even get to hold them. And part of me wonders, does he want that? Is this his way of resetting his life? I keep asking myself, why is this happening? What am I supposed to do when the man I love refuses to help himself? How do you force someone to get better when they have already given up? And what about me? How am I supposed to raise a baby alone? We had a plan. From the beginning, we agreed that I would stay home and focus on the baby while he handled the income. That was not just my choice, it was his idea too. And now he is backing out of everything, leaving me stranded in the middle of the storm we created together. After talking things out with people online, it has become painfully clear to me that Eric is not just having a rough patch, this is a serious mental health issue. I left a lot out of my first post because I wanted to focus on what is happening now, but the truth is, this is not the first time something like this has happened. He has gone through dark spells before. Times when he would shut down emotionally, isolate himself, and say things that made no sense at all. I do not know how I missed the warning signs. Maybe I chose to ignore them. Maybe I believed love would be enough to carry us through. But now, with a baby growing inside me and a husband who is slipping further and further away, I am starting to realize that love is not always enough. I had brought up the idea of therapy more than once. But Eric always shut it down. He said he had gone through some rough stuff with therapists in the past and swore he would never put himself through that again. No matter how bad things got, he would not even consider giving it another shot. Someone online asked me if there was anyone close to him, maybe a family member or a friend, who could get through to him. I wish there were. He talks to his dad the most, but even that is just surface-level chatter. Sports. Weather. Nothing emotional or deep. As for his mom, they do not have that kind of relationship either. Honestly, I do not think he would open up to anyone about this, not even his own parents. I once asked him, "How are you going to explain all of this to your family? What will you say when we get divorced?" And he just looked at me and said, "I won't say anything. It is none of their business." As if we could just quietly end our marriage and no one would even notice. The way he said it, it felt like he was living in a completely different reality. Like he truly believed the people in our lives would just let this pass without a word. Another person online brought up something I had not even considered. They asked if maybe Eric thought I cheated on him. That the pregnancy made him suspicious since we had struggled for so long and never did in vitro fertilization or anything like that. And honestly, that thought had not even crossed my mind before. But thinking about it now, it is strange that he never brought it up. Because if he did suspect something like that, Eric is the type who would have come straight to me about it. He would have accused me or at least asked. He is not the kind of guy who keeps that stuff inside. And now that I am really thinking about it, that idea actually lines up with the kind of twisted logic he has been using lately. But still, he never said anything. Not once. As for whether he was ever diagnosed with anything related to infertility, no, he was not. Because he flat out refused to get tested. He would not even do a semen analysis. We went through years of not knowing why we could not conceive, and he would not take that one basic step. He kept saying it was unnecessary. He was so confident it would happen for us naturally, and that was that. We had a chemical pregnancy once, so Eric knows without a doubt that he is capable of getting me pregnant. Through everything we went through during those painful years of infertility, he was always the hopeful one. He kept saying, "It will happen eventually." He believed it with his whole heart. That was one reason he refused to do any testing. He just did not think it was necessary. He wanted to let nature take its course, and he was sure it would all work out in time. I still wish he would agree to counseling. I think it could help him more than he realizes. But he has been through some bad experiences with mental health professionals before. He says they hurt him, and now he just cannot bring himself to trust anyone in that field again. That trust is completely gone, and so is any hope, at least for now, that he will get help from a therapist. A while back, I made a post online to try and sort through everything that was going on. I did not know what to expect, but I ended up getting a lot of support from people I had never even met. They were kind, thoughtful, and honest. Some of the things they said really shook me. They saw things I had not, or maybe just refused to see. A few even told me that what I was going through sounded like emotional abuse. At first, that felt wrong to me. I mean, I know abuse is real and awful, but this was different. I do not believe Eric is trying to hurt me. He is not some manipulative monster. He is sick. Seriously sick. And it is only now that I am starting to fully understand how deep it goes. Just a few days after I shared my story, Eric came to me and said, without emotion, that he did not want to be here anymore. He told me he was not actively planning to do anything, but that he thought about dying every single day. That he just wanted it all to stop. That conversation shattered something inside of me. I could not ignore it. I could not just sit on that. So the very next day, I reported what he said to the hospital where he works. If I could go back, would do it anonymously. Because when I reached out, I could tell they were not taking me seriously. It was like they saw me as just a bitter wife trying to stir up trouble. Like I had some personal vendetta. And to this day, I have no idea if they did anything with the information. But at least I spoke up. At least I did what I felt was right. Ever since then, I have been noticing more and more things about Eric that I cannot ignore. Strange things. Darker things. Things that make it very clear he should not be treating patients in his current state of mind. And I hate to say that, because I love him, but it is the truth. People still ask me, do you think he ever really wanted a baby? And I get it. From the outside, it might look like he never did. But that is not the truth. The man I married, he was warm, thoughtful, and always dreaming about the family we would have one day. That version of him, my Eric, he wanted this more than anything. But the person I see now, I do not even recognize him anymore. And that is the part that hurts the most. A person cannot be admitted to a psychiatric hospital against their will unless they are an immediate and proven danger to themselves or others. It does not matter what I say or how desperate I sound. Eric has only told me that he wants to end his life, but he has never said he has an actual plan to do it. And I will not lie to the police about something this serious. Even if I tried to exaggerate the truth, the authorities would still talk to him directly, and if they do not see him as a direct threat, they cannot do anything. So, when people criticize me for not doing enough, as if I can just have him taken to a hospital by force, it makes me want to scream. I have already checked every option. There is no legal way for a wife to force her husband into psychiatric care if he is not deemed an immediate risk. I have done my research. I posted an update a couple of weeks ago about how Eric stopped talking to me after we found out I was pregnant. This pregnancy is wanted and planned. It is something we both dreamed of for years. But after that positive test, he spiraled so deep into his mental health struggles that I do not even recognize him anymore. I wish I could say things are better now, but they are not. We are still living under the same roof, but it feels like we are strangers. He has even moved into his home office, turning it into his own bedroom, as if we are already separated. Eric barely talks to me. On rare occasions, he acts like the man I fell in love with, kind, happy, and even excited about the baby. But those moments vanish quickly. The second I bring up therapy or getting real help, it is like a switch flips. He shuts down, retreats into his head, and the strange, delusional talk starts all over again. Sometimes he says I should leave him and find someone else to be the father of our child. Other times, he suggests I get an abortion. And then, almost every day, he tells me that he wants to die, that he thinks about it constantly. I have already called the suicide hotline twice, and both times I have been told the same thing. Unless Eric has a detailed, immediate plan to harm himself, there is nothing they can do to force him to get help. And he refuses therapy or medication. I have already called the suicide prevention hotline twice. Both times, I was told the same thing. There is absolutely nothing I can do to force Eric to get help. The hospital or police will not take him in just because he says he wants to end his life. Unless he gives them a specific plan, something immediate and concrete, they will not act. And I have seen glimpses of him, of the man I married, the version of him who smiles, who talks to me like he used to. So I know he is still in there somewhere. But he flat out refuses to get help. He says he would rather die than speak to a therapist. He tells me he does not deserve to feel better. That he just wants to disappear. His mother will not step in either. I tried reaching out to her, hoping she might talk to him, maybe get through to him in a way I cannot. But I think she believes I am exaggerating. She acts like I am just being dramatic. I have already contacted the hospital where he works and even reached out to the medical board. But no one seems to think anything is wrong. They brushed it off, and now I find myself wondering if I am the crazy one. I have been searching for somewhere else to go, just in case I need to leave. But honestly, I do not have anywhere to run. I have no nearby family or close friends who could take me in, and every other option I looked at either does not work financially or would put me in a worse position. The hardest part is, if I leave this house now, there is a chance I will give up my legal right to it in a divorce. That is the last thing I want to risk, especially with a baby on the way. I did go to my first prenatal appointment. Physically, everything looks good so far. But it is still so early, and with all the stress I am carrying, I cannot help but fear I might lose the baby. I do not want to think that way, but I feel like I have to be ready, just in case the worst happens. Have you talked to a divorce attorney yet? I really think you should, just so you understand what your rights are and what you might expect to happen if you go down that road. Knowing more can never hurt. No, I have not yet. But now that you mention it, I think that might be the next step I need to take. At this point, you need to put yourself first. This does not sound like a safe or stable environment. Honestly, I would not even keep the baby if I were you. Good luck. This baby was very much wanted. This was not some accident. We tried for years to get here. I am pro-choice, I always have been, but I cannot bring myself to end a pregnancy we both dreamed about for so long. I have always believed that every woman has the right to choose what is best for her. I am very much pro-choice. But in my case, I just cannot bring myself to consider an abortion. This baby, we spent years hoping for this child. This was not something that just happened by accident. We prayed for this moment. Giving up now just feels impossible. Someone online asked if I ever considered the possibility that maybe Eric is just faking all of this. That maybe it is some kind of act, because he is not showing these behaviors to anyone else. Not at work, not around other people, just with me. And they even suggested something darker. Maybe he is seeing someone else. Maybe he wants me out of the picture and this is his twisted way of pushing me away. Honestly, I understand why someone might think that. The whole thing is so strange and painful. But no, I do not think he is faking anything. He told me, flat out, that he wishes he could get fired so he would not have to be the one to quit. And now I know he has cut off communication with his friends and even most of his family. I did not realize that until recently. Another person asked if maybe Eric is having some kind of psychotic break. I do not know. I never used that word myself. What I have said is that a lot of what comes out of his mouth feels completely disconnected from reality. I have called it delusional, because that is how it sounds. He tells me that everyone hates him. That he does not deserve to be alive. That he is worthless and broken beyond repair. He even tells me he wants to help me meet another man, someone better than him, so I can see what it is like to be truly loved. That kind of thinking is not normal. It is heartbreaking. On top of that, he is remembering things wrong, like completely misremembering major moments in our relationship. I do not mean little things, I mean full-on rewriting history. We had a beautiful marriage. Not perfect, but loving and strong. He used to tell me all the time how much he loved me, how lucky he was to have me. I have never stopped loving him. I still see the good in him, I know he is enough. But he does not believe that. He cannot even grasp that he might be loved or that he deserves anything good. It is like he is drowning, and I am standing on the shore, reaching for him, screaming his name, and he will not even look at me. But he keeps insisting that he is worthless. He says he deserves nothing but misery. He talks about it like it is a fact, not just his opinion. And every time I try to tell him otherwise, he shuts me down like I am the one who does not understand. He cannot even begin to grasp that he matters. In his mind, he is the worst person alive. But here is the truth, he has a wife who loves him deeply, a career he used to take pride in, a family that supports him, friends who care, and hobbies that used to bring him peace. We are not facing any major crisis. We are not buried in debt. There is no physical illness. Nothing, except for this overwhelming storm in his mind. He has every reason to believe he is loved, valuable, and needed. But he just cannot see it. Or maybe he refuses to see it. And there is something in his eyes when he speaks like this, something I cannot explain. It is not the man I married. It is like I am staring at someone completely different. A lot has happened, but strangely enough, I feel like I am stuck in the same place I was 2 months ago. I was never able to get my husband admitted for a psychiatric evaluation without his consent. I tried to find a way, but legally, unless someone is in immediate danger to themselves or others, there is nothing you can do. Eventually, though, he hit the bottom. It was the worst I had ever seen him. And in that moment, something inside him changed. He came to the conclusion on his own that he needed help. That happened shortly after I made my last post. Since then, he has been taking medication for about 2 months now. We even found a therapist he truly likes. That gave me hope. I saw it in his face, the relief of finally talking to someone who understood. But unfortunately, his work schedule is so demanding, it makes regular appointments nearly impossible. He has only managed to see that therapist twice. Still, I was proud of him. He took action. He admitted he needed help. He made the first move. But even with all that, things have not improved much. He still says he wants to die. In fact, he talks about it even more than before. His psychiatrist recently switched him to a new medication, thinking the first one was not doing enough. I know it takes time to find the right treatment. Sometimes it is trial and error before the right dose or combination works. But I am running on empty. I am not worn out because of the pregnancy. It is the emotional weight of everything that is breaking me. So far, he has only managed to see that therapist 2 times. I remember feeling genuinely proud of him. It felt like he was finally taking things seriously. He was stepping up, trying to take control of something that had been controlling him for so long. But even with those steps forward, not much has actually improved. The darkness is still there. He still talks about not wanting to live. If anything, those kinds of thoughts have become more frequent. It is like they are always there, just beneath the surface, waiting for a quiet moment to come out. Recently, his psychiatrist decided that the first medication was not doing what it was supposed to. So they stopped that one and started him on something different. I understand that finding the right mix of medication can take time. It is a process. Sometimes a long one. But I am worn out. Not from being pregnant, even though that is tough too. What drains me is being in this constant state of stress and uncertainty. I have become more than just his wife. I feel like his caretaker now. And sometimes, even worse, like his emotional punching bag. Now, to be clear, he has never hit me. He has never laid a hand on me. He has never even shouted cruel names at me. But when his mind begins to spiral, he lashes out in other ways. Words. Coldness. He says things that cut deep. Things he knows will hurt. He tells me I should find someone else. That I deserve better. That I should go be with another man and let him become the father to our child. It is like he is trying to push me away on purpose. Sometimes, he tells me that I never really loved him. That I only stayed with him long enough to have a baby and now I do not need him anymore. He says it like it is a fact, not like he is just hurting. It is like he is trying to convince me to leave, as if that would make everything easier for him. And I will be honest, I am exhausted. Completely drained. I know it probably sounds selfish, but I do not know how much longer I can keep doing this. He has not stopped talking about ending his life. I wish I were exaggerating, but I am not. I have no idea how to help him anymore. Every day, I carry this fear that something awful might happen. And on top of that, I know that the baby inside me feels every ounce of stress I am under. That is what tears me up the most. This should be a time full of peace and happiness. Instead, I feel like I am trapped in survival mode every single day. I cannot enjoy this pregnancy, even though we fought for it for years. And that breaks my heart. I have come up with a backup plan just in case. I do not want to leave, but I know I might have to. He needs to be better before the baby arrives. I have already spoken with a lawyer and got solid legal advice. Everything is ready to go if I reach that breaking point. The lawyer has all the details. I just need to decide when enough is enough. Honestly, it feels like I am racing against the clock. I told my husband that if things do not improve soon, really improve, I will go stay with my family and have the baby there. I do not know if that sounds fair or not, but it is what I feel I need to do. I feel guilty even thinking about it, especially since he is technically doing what he is supposed to. He is trying. But trying is not always enough. I have to protect myself. I have to protect our baby. If it ever comes to a custody battle, being in a different state, having a job and support system, that could make all the difference. If you want the full picture, you can look through everything I have written before. But to put it simply, my once steady and loving marriage fell apart the moment I found out I was pregnant. We had been trying for years, so this baby was not a surprise. It was planned, wanted, hoped for. But something in my husband changed, almost overnight, and it has been like living with a stranger ever since. He started struggling mentally in a way I had never seen before. And I mean deep, dark stuff. It was not just sadness or stress. It felt like I was watching him come undone in slow motion. And I have spent the last 8 months giving everything I have to try to help him pull it back together. He does see a psychiatrist now, at least sometimes. They have him on antidepressants, and as far as I know, he takes them regularly. But they have not helped the way I had hoped. He still talks like he wants to disappear. He still tells me I should leave him, that he will be a terrible father and that the baby and I would be better off without him. He has never laid a hand on me. But there was one moment I cannot shake. One night, he cornered me in our hallway and just screamed. I could not get past him. I was frozen, completely trapped in that space. He did not hit me, and maybe someone else would say it was not abuse, but I was scared. I still do not know what that moment means. I do not have video or anything like that, but I have text messages. Pages and pages of them. Messages where he spirals, insults himself, says disturbing things. It is a written trail of the emotional toll this has all taken, and honestly, I keep them partly for my own sanity, to remind myself that I am not imagining how bad this has been. As much as I wish otherwise, he still refuses to go to therapy. He keeps repeating that he does not want to get better, that he does not deserve to feel better. I have hit a point where I know I cannot force him. And unless the law says he is a danger to himself or others in that exact moment, there is nothing anyone can legally do to make him get help. So now, I feel like I am down to one option. I need to start thinking about separation. Not because I stopped loving him, and not because I want out, but because I have a child coming into this world who deserves a stable, healthy environment. And no matter how much it hurts to say this, I cannot give that to my child if we stay under the same roof as someone who refuses to get better. He did tell me that if I leave, he will still help support the baby financially. I appreciate that, but money is only part of the equation. Stability, safety, peace of mind, those things matter more to me right now. I am trying to prepare for the worst while still hoping for the best. But one thing keeps nagging at me: if I leave my husband and we divorce, I am worried sick that he will try to push for shared custody just to avoid paying full child support and alimony. That possibility keeps me up at night. See, where I live, the courts automatically lean toward 50-50 custody. It is the default. And even though I have been documenting everything, and even though I have messages that show emotional instability and verbal abuse, I have heard too many stories of women being forced to share custody with men who were proven to be dangerous. Some of those men were even convicted of domestic violence, and they still ended up with shared parenting rights. That thought terrifies me. My husband has a solid job, a spotless record, and a great reputation in the community. People admire him. They look up to him. On paper, he seems like the kind of man you would want raising your kid. I used to be one of those people. I used to admire him, too. But the person I see now is not the same man I married. He is not safe, not stable, and not someone I trust with our baby. And that is the truth I have to face, even if no one else can see it. I do not have any close family nearby. I do not really have any friends close enough to lean on. And with me being 8 months pregnant, leaving the house feels impossible. The nursery is already set up, I have pets to care for, and moving right now would be a logistical nightmare. I am hoping, maybe foolishly, that I can talk him into moving out instead. I think he might agree to it. He has said many times that I deserve better, that he wants to disappear. So maybe he will step aside. But even if he leaves the house, I still do not know what my next step is. Now for the part one never thought I would be writing. 1 year has passed since everything began to fall apart. When I first started posting here, it was about infertility. That was over 2 years ago. And after all the struggle, after all the failed tests and tears, we finally made it, we got pregnant. After 2 long years, it happened. But instead of joy, I watched my husband fall apart in front of me. He spiraled hard when we got that positive test. He talked about ending his life. He moved into a separate room. He begged me to find someone else to raise the baby with. I thought I was going to lose him, and I nearly did. When I found out I was pregnant, I never imagined that moment would mark the beginning of everything falling apart. Right after the test came back positive, it was like my husband collapsed inward. His mind just spiraled. It was not some slow change, it hit fast and hard. I will not get into all the details here again, but trust me, there is a long and painful history. I have written about it before if anyone really wants the full picture. Now, several months have passed since our baby came into the world. And during that time, I have had a lot of time to think, more than I ever wanted. By the last stretch of my pregnancy, I was making serious plans to leave him. I was scared, not just for myself, but for the baby. It was obvious at that point that my husband was mentally unwell. His behavior was unpredictable. He was not safe, not for me, and not for himself either. I was even looking into ways to leave the state quietly, just to put some distance between us before the baby arrived. But life had other plans. I went into labor about 4 weeks earlier than expected, and everything changed overnight. The moment our child was born, it was like something inside him flipped. He started acting like nothing had ever happened. The depression, the delusions, the despair, it all just disappeared. Suddenly, he was present. Calm. Engaged. And he slipped into the role of father almost effortlessly. From the outside, it probably looks like a miracle. But for me, it does not feel like a happy ending. Sure, he is better now. He is stable, even kind. He helps with the baby. He smiles again. And yet, I cannot forget what he put me through. Becoming a mother taught me what real, unconditional love feels like. And looking back, I cannot help but feel that my husband never truly deserved the love I gave him. I used to dream that all I wanted was for him to get better. But now that he has, I am stuck with this deep, burning resentment. Every day, it grows. I cannot help it. I look at him, and I feel rage. He broke me when I was at my most vulnerable. He abandoned me emotionally. He told me to leave, to get rid of the baby, to find someone else. And after all of that, he still got to hold our beautiful, perfect child in his arms like nothing happened. And me? I am expected to just move on. Be the doting wife. The patient, loving mother. Like none of it ever took place. But it did. Sometimes I wonder if I imagined it. If maybe it was all just some pregnancy-fueled nightmare. But I know better. It was real. Every second of it. He knows I have not forgiven him. He knows I carry this resentment. But he believes it will pass, like it is just a phase. He could not be more wrong. But here is the truth, I kept hoping things would improve. That maybe, just maybe, the anger would ease. But instead, I find myself growing more bitter every day. And nothing has changed on his end. He still refuses to get help. He will not even consider therapy, not alone, not together. I have brought up the idea of counseling more times than I can count, but he always shuts it down without a second thought. So now I am stuck. I feel cornered, emotionally and mentally. And yes, I blame myself for not walking away when I had the chance. I know I should have left during the pregnancy. But I didn't. And now I have to live with that choice. At this point, it feels like I have two roads in front of me. One option is to leave. File for divorce. On most days, that is what I want to do. I dream about starting fresh, building a peaceful life for myself and my child. But then reality hits me. Where I live, the default is shared custody. Even men who have been convicted of domestic violence are granted equal parenting rights, as long as the abuse was not directed toward the child. It makes me sick to even think about it. I have already spoken with a lawyer. According to the law here, none of what I endured during the pregnancy, his emotional breakdowns, the screaming, the psychological pressure, none of it would be enough to strip him of custody. So even if I leave, I might still have to hand over our child for 50% of the time. That defeats the entire purpose of trying to create a stable life for my son. the other option? Stay. Keep living in this quiet, simmering resentment. Pretend like everything is fine for the sake of our child. Try to swallow the anger, smile through the pain, and focus on the baby. But I do not know how to do that. How do you forgive someone who does not believe they have done anything wrong? How do you let go of hurt that was never acknowledged? That was never apologized for? I am in therapy now, trying to work through my emotions. But even my therapist keeps pushing for couples counseling. And as always, my husband refuses to go. So I am turning to strangers now. Just hoping someone out there might help me sort through this mess. Maybe offer some insight I have not considered. I just want to do what is best for my child. I do not care about pride or winning, I just want peace, for both of us.